another week of Soccer's morning show, Soccer Down Here. Actually made it just before 9:06 because, all right, full disclosure. Morning kickoff is going to be about Antonio Conte because of what happened this past weekend and him going on full blast in his post-match press conference. In a match that you should have won, frankly. Should have beaten Southampton, and you didn't. Morning, David. And then you end up with a 3-3 draw. So Antonio Conte goes on full blast. And, yeah, it was definitely that. But that'll be opening kickoff. But full disclosure, thank you, DM Tim. Good morning. Morning, Coco. Morning, DJ. Full disclosure, when I was loading material for this morning, did you ever just listen to something and you just get the giggles all over again? And I mean, like, legit giggles. Legit giggles. I mean, yeah, I know. Thank you, Spurs. Yeah, we'll get into the standings, too, as a part of it. Yeah, everybody's thinking, oh, maybe the relegation battle will be different. And no, it just got tighter. So, yeah, we'll get into that as well. But obviously this morning we'll talk about Atlanta United. Yeah, so Ricky, nothing like vibing off of free kicks. But now, have you ever just kind of listened to something and you just kind of get the giggles? I mean, like flat get the giggles, and you're just kind of like in a corner and you're just kind of going, yeah. Yes, Coco, boom, Yakamakis. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and so there's plenty to talk about. So whatever you guys want to talk about with Atlanta United, obviously that's on the table. And we can go over the rest of Major League Soccer. If you missed it, we've started something a little new where on Sunday, morning, Alex, hope you are well. Yeah. Well, yeah. Will's already like, yeah, 50 million. Willie could take 5 million per half season if he's loaned back. Doesn't count towards a DP. So yeah, we'll get into Atlanta United, whatever's on the table for you, and we'll get into that this morning. But yeah, just loading the material this morning, I legit got a case of the giggles. So we'll get the giggles all over again coming up in just a little bit. So Antonio Conte, yeah, and that is the optimistic way to hang on to it, Alex. All right, so Antonio Conte. Then I guess I should put up the graphic because it's our opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And you can kind of see the QR code over my left shoulder for our friends at Lemonize, and that'll be hour number 2. Once again, you go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. What you can do is use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% and roll it into their youth initiatives. Very, very fun stuff and very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So, Antonio Conte. Dude went on full blast after a 3-3 draw, and legitimately it was against Southampton. It's a game he should have won. And when folks talk about Clemsoning and Spursy and those kinds of adjectives, this was another example of that. So Antonio Conte, after his press conference, goes on full blast. And I mean full blast. So here we go. Attacked his players, and this is from our friends at The Guardian. So here's what went down. Obviously, and we talked about it a lot. I don't anticipate that he's going to be – his contract runs out at the end of the year and into the season. I did not anticipate, because of his gallbladder surgery and because of losing those – he lost a couple – I think it was 3 friends who were very, very close to him, and he goes home to recuperate, those kinds of things. I didn't anticipate Antonio Conte would be around next season anyway, just because of these brushes with mortality. But a 3-3 draw with Southampton, quote, "For me, this is unacceptable. We are winning 3-1 in control and concede 2 goals." He answered just 2 questions in his 10-minute press conference. Quote, I think it's better to go into the problem. We are not a team. We are 11 players that go into the pitch. I see selfish players that don't want to help each other and don't put their heart into it. This season compared to last, now we are worse in this aspect. When you are not a team, you cannot improve. Went back to losing to Sheffield United in the FA Cup. The fire in your eyes, if you have this, you don't go out in the FA Cup. We're used to this for a long time. The club has the responsibility for the transfer market. The coach has the responsibility. But the players, where are the players? I see only 11 players that play for themselves. From The Guardian once again. Rounded on the culture of Tottenham, the club itself, words bound into interest Levy, president St. Mary's, and barracked by away fans. Quote, they don't play for something important. Yeah, they don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. It's easy in this way. Tottenham's story is this. 20 years there is the owner, and they never won something, but why? The fault is only for the club or for every manager that stay here. I've seen the managers that Tottenham had on the bench. You risk to disrupt the figure of the manager and to protect the other situation in every moment. Until now, I try to hide the situation, but now no. Because I repeat, I don't want to see what I have seen today. He concluded. Everyone has to take their responsibility, not only the club, the manager, and the staff. The players have to be involved in this situation because it's time to change the situation. If Tottenham want to change, they can change the manager, a lot of managers, but the situation cannot change, believe me. So, players legitimately believe that Conte is either going or gone. Going or gone. Conte had avoided criticism of Daniel Levy, and they've only won the 2008 Carling Cup since Daniel Levy became the guy in charge as the chairman. 22 years ago, and they've only won the 2008 Carling Cup. The team are next in action at Everton on April 3rd. Linked with Mauricio Pochettino, don't take it. Thomas Tuchel, he might. So that's where Spurs are right now. Widely expected to leave the club when his contract expires at the end of the year, although it is understood some of the players would welcome him going immediately. According to a dressing room source, Spurs players believe Conte is going or gone, with their only question about the manager's future concerning the timing of his departure. If you were a Spurs fan, are a Spurs fan, and you had, your manager went on blast like that, would you take it? Would you absolutely take it? Get him out. That kind of stuff. Would you take it? Get him out of here. I don't want it. I know he's not coming back anyway. We may as well just go ahead and start prepping for next year. Or because you're this close to fighting for European competition, do you keep him and risk the locker room going completely and totally upside down? But here's where we are. Arsenal, obviously 8 points clear, but they've played one more match in Manchester City. So, and next up for Manchester City is Liverpool after the international break. Arsenal have leads. Manchester United's at 50 points, and this is where we start group number 2. Manchester United 2 matches in hand on Arsenal. Spurs right now, they've played 28 matches, same as Arsenal. They're at 49 points. Folks around them have all played 26. So Newcastle's next match is Liverpool. They're at 47 points. Liverpool's at 42. That gets you through Europa League. And so that's your Europa League run right there. Liverpool is at 42 points. That's Europa Conference League territory. They're ahead of both Brighton and Brentford on goal difference. Fulham is 9th. Fulham's another story we can get into in hour number 2, as Alexander Mitrovic just went nuts. And Marco Silva tried to fall on the sword and was pleading with anybody within the sound of his microphone, don't throw the book at him. They probably will. Fulham's in 9th at 39. Chelsea's at 38. So is Aston Villa. But they're 5 goals back on goal difference. They're in 11th. So that's group number 2. Group number 3. 9 teams. Now, going into this weekend, it was 9 teams, 5 points, separating them all, 12 through 20. Everybody was saying, yeah, things will get sorted out this weekend. They didn't. Now it's 9 teams, 4 points. Crystal Palace, 27 points after the big loss to Arsenal. Wolves behind on goal difference, losing to Leeds, which tightened things up, 4-2. Leeds with the win, they're up to 26 points ahead of Everton on goal difference. Everton drew Chelsea. I know that Tom is still feeling that one, as is Ropes. Newcastle beat Nottingham Forest, scoring late. Forest early on, you're like, okay, and then Newcastle comes back, comes get the win. So Forest is in 16th at 26 points. And those big losses early in the year when they were trying to figure out who they were, that might come up to bite them in the butt. Minus 27 on goal difference right now. Leicester, with their 1-1 draw with Brentford, which was a bit of a surprise, has them out of the relegation zone at 25 points. West Ham, Bournemouth, Southampton, they're all in the relegation zone. We talked about West Ham. Well, West Ham and Aston Villa, 1-1 draw. Bournemouth losing to Villa 3-0. So they're both at 24 points. And once again, Bournemouth, the early losses under Scotty Tuhati when they got blown out, minus 29 on goal difference. That might be what costs them coming down the line. And then Southampton with their draw at 23 points. So we go from 9 teams, 5 points to 9 teams, 4 points. Listening to folks over the weekend, they said this is unheard of. Unheard of when it comes to the Premier League. A lot of folks are now saying 34 points might keep you safe. Traditionally, 40 is the number that folks talk about. But 34 points would be what would keep you safe this year. So, yeah, so 9 teams, 4 points right now, either just in or just out of the relegation zone. So that's where we are. That's where we are. So, yeah, so you got that in the Premier League. Yeah, and yeah, like I said, we'll get into the whole Fulham thing when that went off the rails in the FA Cup. I mean, that was just crazy. Crazy. And then we'll get into what Marco Silva said about Alexander Mitrovic. But yeah, dude, you don't bump an official. And we might get into this once again with Bart. And when Bart comes on Wednesday in his slot, Knicks is just, yeah. Give it another month, and then Knicks will be around for the home stretch trying to figure out Leicester and see where they are. So, yeah, we'll get into the rest of the Premier League and all that kind of stuff. So that is that's the early run with opening kickoff. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Once again, reminder. Once again, if you go to Kickoff Coffee, you use Kickoff Coffee, don't forget to use the code soccer down here 15% off of your purchases for anything that you get with Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, and they in turn take 10% and reinvest it into the youth game. Once again, that's our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. Remember we were talking about the giggles? I would imagine that there were a couple of moments over the weekend that gave you the giggles. Big win for Atlanta United. And once again, we can talk about anything and everything Atlanta United. When Jarrett hops in, we'll get his perspectives as well, because there were a couple of topics that I wanted to get into with Jarrett. And I want to know what you guys think, so go ahead and let us know on the Twitch pitch. But we mentioned moments that give you the giggles. And there was one moment, obviously, that when you just keep playing, all right, show of hands. How many of you and how many times have you gone back to either a Twitter account or YouTube to just watch the free kick at the end of the first half from Thiago Almada? Show of hands. I swear I probably watched it at least 20, 25 times from various sources to try to get the vibe down from all the different angles when it came to it. So, yes, Nick's good to see you as well. It was good to see everybody out there. And now that I know where you guys tailgate, what we were trying to do, we were trying to come out and say hi to everybody. And it was good to say hi to folks and kind of introduce our new co-host Joe Freihofer to the 17s. So that's Joe. He's with me, and it was good to be out there with him and with you guys. It was great to see all of you. But there was one moment. Yes, no doubt, Nix. All right, so we'll get into how many times you guys have seen it. All right, so here's how it went down, and I'm sure that you guys have heard both versions, but I couldn't resist. This morning, I could not resist, and I'll pull back the curtain on what it was like for us as we were getting ready for halftime in just a bit. So, courtesy of our friends at Major League Soccer and MLS Season Pass and Apple TV Plus, a very familiar voice calling the free kick with the Kendra D. St. Aubin. Here's the call of Kevin Egan.
Almada goes for it. Thiago Almada! That is world class! Take a bow, a nod to his hometown in Argentina. We are witnessing something special in the 21-year-old Thiago Almada.
There is something about a set-piece specialist. It hits off inside the post. No chance for Ivicic. You got this double wall thing going that Atlanta United likes to do in front of the Portland wall, just slightly off center. And he curls it perfectly. Could not put it in a better spot, out of the reach of the goalkeeper. Amazing technique.
Welcome back, Ivicic, to starting for Portland, by the way. And so you had that call. And then, and once again, I would recommend going back to our friends at 92.9 The Game. If you don't subscribe to the Off the Woodwork podcast, please do, because that's where you get the full hour post game with Mike and Jason after the match. Here's Mike's call. Man, think about it. Mike and Jason have had 2 of the goals of the year already, and we're only in match week 4. Here's the call of Mike and Jason, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and Major League Soccer.
We're in the third of 4 added minutes here in the first half. 1-0 Atlanta United. Ball is spotted square to the post nearest us. It's Almada standing to the left of the ball, and Araújo is to the right of it.
Yeah, it's inside 35, so it's a little more in range. I think Thiago might want this.
Let's see. 7-man wall. Whistle by Uncle. Hands on hips for Almada. He's up to it. He does go for goal. Goal! Thiago Almada from the parking lot gives Atlanta United the 2-0 lead. He celebrates by displaying Fuerte Apache on his undershirt, his neighborhood from Buenos Aires. It's 2-0 to Atlanta United on a goal of the year candidate for Thiago Almada.
I never thought, full disclosure, I never thought I would hear or think of TJ Sorrentine from the University of Vermont and Thiago Almada in the same part of my head. Considering when I hear from the parking lot, the call for me is when Vermont made the run in the tournament 12 years ago, and you had the game against Syracuse where TJ Sorrentine was the point guard, and it's on YouTube, with Gus Johnson going absolutely berserk. And it's Gus Johnson and Lynn Elmore, who are one of the great pairings in the March tournament. And Sorrentine, I want to say from 28, he was lined up square to the bucket, and so he just lines it up from 28, and you hear Gus Johnson go, Sorrentine, he hit that one from the parking lot. That, to me, was my reference point for this particular kick from Thiago Almada. And all right, now, story time with John. we were lining up. Yes, and Taylor Coppenrath. Very, very good, Will. Good pull. And I actually have the bracket T-shirt from that year because of Taylor Coppenrath and TJ Sorrentine. The way that we sit and get ready for halftime in our studio space, Joe and I, we have a monitor where we can watch what's going on, and we can listen to either the audio of Mike and Jason or whoever's calling the match for network. So we had network feed up with Kevin and Kendra, and we're writing down the highlights, and I think we had just laid out our highlight package for the half, and we had just seen it. And so Joe and I and all of the folks who are fantastic at Mercedes-Benz in putting together that halftime show, we're all kind of watching what's going on. And we had just finished reviewing the highlights, and so network was back up on the monitor in our studio. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking, okay, is it going to be Thiago? Is it going to be Luis from 32? And when you've got a home match, it's easy to mark that off because of the textures that are in each 5-yard chunk at Mercedes-Benz. And so you have the end zone for football, that's 10. And you sit there and you go 15, 20, 25, 30, 32. So I was looking at it from 32 and thought that it might be Thiago from that angle. And we found out later that he was been working with Clement Diop for things of that distance. So we're watching this, and then Thiago hits it and gets it. I mean, and you notice from the goal, from the camera behind the goal, Ivicic initially went to his right. He took a step to his right at first impact, and that gave him even less of a chance if he could, hop and get high enough to where even if he just jumped to his left, he could have had a chance. But he made that first half step to his right. Makes that first half step to his right, and he's in trouble. Because then it's headed for upper 90, and then he's got no chance. We start breaking out laughing. And, I mean, I'm wearing my headset. Joe's wearing his headset. And the crew behind us, in the control room, you hear them lose it as well. I mean, literally, you've got probably 24 people going nuts over a headset in a studio space and in the control room because of how just straight up nasty that was. Straight up nasty. I don't know how many times I can type that out and send it to folks on social media. That kick was straight up nasty. Flat out. And for Mike and Jason through match week 4 to have 2 goals of the year calls, I will say this. If they do not win 2023 awards for play-by-play and color because of what we've seen just in the first 4 match weeks, 3 of the first 4 at home. If they don't win all the awards, something is wrong with the awards process when it comes to radio. I pray someone has saved those calls and has saved those matches. The San Jose match and the one against Portland. Saved those matches, put them in file, made sure that they're untouchable. Because if Mike and Jason do not win all the awards, there's a problem. Now, Atlanta United won 5-1. They won absolutely 5-1. And when you end up with what happened, you had Caleb Wiley scoring again. And as we mentioned at the half, it was 3 goals in 115 minutes, 25 and 90, 115. 3 goals in 115 minutes of play. And by the way, the defense that we've talked about from Thiago Almada, from Gonzalo Pineda, created that opportunity. Off of the corner goes far side of the 18. Caleb Wiley, who is that left winger, is back there to help defend. Make sure that they don't get a quick recycle. Then Portland's working it outside the 18 over at the far post. sent in, headed out immediately. Then you got Franco Ibarra, and we'll get into Ibarra's numbers as well. We'll get into it with our friends from SofaScore, and we'll break all that down. Ibarra continues to be an absolute hoss. And I don't know if you saw it on his Instagram after the match, that the gash that he had from defending, what is that, about 2.5 inches? He had like a 2.5-inch gash down the front of his leg that they had to treat after the match was over. Franco Ibarra is continuing to be an absolute hoss. Ibarra to Almada, and you see how, and Thiago kind of positioned himself to where he was boxing out a little bit. You get that second bounce, the two defenders clatter with each other. Thiago's there to grab the ball, and then the presence that Thiago has, once again, his vision, second to none, hits it between the two defenders on an angle, hits Caleb in stride, and Caleb welcomes Ivicic back to starting in Major League Soccer for the goal. Caleb Wiley scores. Thiago Almada scores. That way you've got 2-0 at the break. Luis Araujo scores. Thiago scores another, 2 goals, 2 assists, and Giacomakis. And yes, and Mike going, boom, Giacomakis. Yes, that'll stick. That'll stick with folks. 5 on the board, and I know that, once again, in a 5-1 win, you know that Gonzalo Pineda is going to look at the 1 goal that they gave up and work on that. As you know, as coaches always will. It's like, let's focus on what we can work on. It was great that we won, but let's focus on what we can work on and get ready for Columbus. And we'll know more about availabilities and such as we go later in the week. We've got the international window to kind of parse through. Abram, Miles, Giacomakis. We'll check on Ronald Hernandez, that kind of thing. So we'll figure out who is not going to be, and Thiago Almada, obviously. So as we get later in the week, we'll have a better idea, but we'll talk about that later in the week. So great to see Luis score again, because once again, you look at his work rate and you see what he does defensively. And you got a guy who's on right wing in the attack, and he's coming back and he's helping things out on defense. Thiago Almada helping things out on defense. Giacomakis helping things out on defense. Your frontliners are a part of the process, all 3 of them. They are a part of the process on defense. They are helping you out. I had to bleep myself there for a second. They're helping you out. That front line's working their way back. They're gaining possession back. They're a part of that process. And then they're sprinting just as much back the other way to help you out offensively. And when you got young legs like Caleb Wiley, who was at 18 and 79 days, 5th or 6th, the youngest scorer. But I think that it's just as important to focus on defense creating offense and your front line coming all the way back to help out defensively to create opportunities, as it is to see the genius of Thiago Almada, to see Luis Araujo score, to see the crosses, the big switches, the diagonals. Goodness gracious, what we saw in that. Especially in the Giacomakis goal, where it goes from all the way to the right. I think it was all the way to the right to Caleb, all the way on the left. And then Caleb finding Giacomakis, a fantastic ball, and it goes in the net. So, Atlanta United was rolling. That's the easiest way to phrase it. And there were a lot of big switches. And Ricky, so Abram, Almada, Chol, true, yes. Etienne, Gigi, Hernandez, and Miles. Okay. So that's what you're staring at, and obviously we'll look at it later in the week. But I think you can get a good gauge of what you've got. So it's probably going to be some combination in the midfield. Will probably be looking at what Columbus does, trying to figure out what your midfield's going to be. Probably Caleb, Barry, Araujo, and this is just off the top of my head with who's here. Midfield is probably some combination of Ibarra, Sejdic, Sosa. And then your back four is left to right. Gutman, Purata, Noah Cobb, probably. And then trying to figure, and Brooks. And then Brad. So that's kind of what you're staring at. But we'll know more later in the week. So, that's where we are after Atlanta United wins at 5-1. That's right. I promised I was going to go to our friends at SofaScore. So let's go to our friends at SofaScore and break things down for some specific athletes. You want me to sign in? It's like they should know me by now. How many times have I logged into SofaScore? Literally, it is absolutely normal for me to sign into SofaScore. So we'll see. All right. So previous. Getting into the numbers from Atlanta and Portland. Thiago Almada got a 10. Once again, not a surprise. I'm sure if they could go higher than 10, they would. Backline all had 6s, high 6s, mid 6s. Brad, Brooks, Miles, Purata. Brad, Brooks had a 6.6. Miles and Andrew had a 6.8. Purata had a 6.9. Franco had a 6.9. I want to get into Franco's numbers here once again. Franco Ibarra. Franco Ibarra had 40 touches, 23 of 27 in passing at 85%. 1 key pass, 1 for 1 on his crosses, 2 for 3 on his long balls. Now, let's get into the duels. 3 duels on the day. Fouled twice, 1 clearance, 1 interception, 1 tackle, 2 dribbles passed. I mean, Franco Ibarra has done some fantastic work. And it's been great to see what we've gotten out of Franco Ibarra. Also, Amar Sejdic, and that was why I wanted to ask Gonzalo Pineda after the match about what he's seen from Ibarra and Sejdic as a part of the collective. And you got that response. Once again, obviously no Josetu, so that means that a guy like Amar has to step up, and he did. Luis had a 7.7. 36 of 43 passing on 69 touches, 84%. 3 key passes. 4 for 8 on long balls. And Tom, you mentioned the big switch. 4 for 8 on long balls. 2 shots on target, 2 off. 3 for 6 on his dribbles. 8 of 13 on duels. 8 of 13, Luis Araujo on duels. Fouled 3 times. Had an interception and 2 tackles. So there's that with Luis. And, it would be nice if I could, actually look at player stats before I'm blocked out from notifications. All right, so I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. There's something in the internal notifications. So those are the 2 guys. But, yeah, looking at Thiago Almada, getting your perfect 10. 59 of 68 passing at 87% on 89 touches. 7 key passes from Thiago Almada. 11 for 11. I did not see this. 11 of 11 on long balls. Thiago Almada, 11 of 11 on long balls. I have never seen that. 11 of 11 on long balls. 3 big chances created, 2 shots on target, 1 for 1 on dribbles, 2 for 5 on duels, fouled once. 11 of 11 on long balls. I did not know that. Until I just saw it, I didn't know it. That's crazy. That's the first time I've seen something like that to that extent when it comes to all of that. So that's just some of the numbers. Obviously, what I could do is I'd like to look at Caleb's numbers, but let's see if I still have the same screwy stuff involving not being able to click things away. Let me see if I can find Caleb's numbers without getting blocked by their own stuff. Let's see. All right, so lineups. Oh, and no surprise, Atlanta United had the highest SofaScore rating on the weekend. Caleb had a 7.8. Yakimaki's a 7.6. So Caleb in 73 minutes, 32 touches, 16 to 21. 1 for 2 on his crosses. That was the Yakimaki's goal. 1-2 duels, both in the air, which was interesting. 1 clearance, 2 picks for Caleb at a 7.7, and Giacomakis, 77 minutes, 2 shots on target. You knew that early the connection was almost there, and you knew that something was going to happen, and it finally did. 17 touches, 4 of 5 on the day, 3 for 5 on ground duels. Let's see, fouled 3 times, 1 clearance. He was offside 5 times, but you know that what he's doing, if he's there, you know that what he's trying to do is he draws attention to himself, and he's allowing for spacing because that back line has to account for him now because of all the runs that he's trying to get right there at the back. The back line for Portland had to account for him, so they're having to back up. And what that does is create that space between the midfield and your forward line. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on those offside runs. Don't necessarily have to keep track of how many times he's offside, but keep an eye on what that does specifically. Making that back line for whoever Atlanta United's playing allow a little more space to create more space for the midfield to create. So keep an eye on that with Giacomakis and all of his work along the back line for the opposition. So, so keep an eye on that. Very, very cool stuff from our buddies at SofaScore. So that's what we're staring at from the numbers there. And I'm going to go ahead and get into comments. So, all right, and I'm going all the way back. I'm going all the way back to the beginning of the show. So we'll go all the way back and see what you guys have in mind. All right, so literally what we're staring at is Victory Monday. Yes, Boom Giacomakis. Absolutely. Boom Giacomakis. Will price it starts at 50. Willing to take off 5 if he's loaned back full salary. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's see. Yes. Between that and Jason's reaction to the free kick, Jason's reaction, it was absolute fire. Yeah. Woo! Yeah, and that's why, if they don't get all the awards, then something is seriously wrong for anything when it comes to all the awards. Yesterday, yes, exactly, Ricky. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Absolutely. It is absolutely not the case. And see, this is what happens when I'm multitasking. I apologize for this. All right. So now that has been taken care of. All right. Sorry. Nothing like an immediate email. Will, inflation's a crude way of saying lady dog ain't it. Okay. Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, it was a fun day, and I will say, once again, I'll say this. The fact that the press box now is an open press box makes it that much more fun, because when you have nights like there were on Saturday night where everything is just absolutely wide open, that you're looking at all of the noise, good or bad. If there's a call that the 17s don't like, you hear it. You hear it in the press box now, because it used to be protected by the plexiglass, and so now you hear everything. You hear the explosion that you guys have when there's a goal scored. The wonder of something like a Thiago Almada. I love the fact that now you're dealing with you're dealing with an open press box, and we get to hear your energy. I think for me, that's just very, very cool. Coco, nothing wrong with being biased. Nothing wrong with being biased. Conti and Longshore, the league's best radio duo. Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, if they don't win it all, then there's a problem. 4 card. Almada and Barca. Yeah, Frank Kessie pretty much just took Real, any shot Real thought they had to doing something and just decided, nope. So you got that. Yeah. And because England ruins everything, will 50% additional tax to go to the Premier League. I don't know if he goes to the Premier League. I don't know. See, that's the interesting. Does he go to La Liga? Does he find a home there? I see, and that's the thing is that, I mean, we can workshop this and try to, and all of our Premier League folks can help workshop this. If there was an opportunity to go to the Premier League, where would Thiago Almada be the best fit? And we can workshop this outside of the Premier League. We can go to La Liga. We could go wherever. I want all of you to put your thinking caps on this morning. And if you have an answer now, that's fine. And to Jason's point that was made in the postgame show, enjoy Thiago Almada. Enjoy it. Because when talents like this come through, like Miguel, and now with Thiago, it is just, you could sit there and what's the quote? Smile because it happened. The end of the quote. Don't be sad because it's gone. Be happy because it happened, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember it this early in the morning. But enjoy Thiago and his game with all of the healthy players around him and the confidence that he's brought back from the World Cup. Enjoy Thiago Almada and what we've seen and what we're going to see. Yes, and I know, obviously, national team duty, you're sitting there going, it's great. Just don't get hurt. Just come back. Just come back in one piece. Well, and Coco, back to our original discussion this morning with opening kickoff, he's so gone, his office may already be packed. Yeah, I mean, that office may not have a whole lot in it. And so that's no doubt. Thiago Almada, that is all. Yeah, and Will, Spurs price is not Napoli's price. David, do we just go with Thiago or do we go with Almada? I mean, we went with Miggy. So is it Miggy and Thiago? that's the question. Do we go with Thiago? But I mean, Thiago Almada, it rolls off the tongue. So I mean, I think that we can be, either Thiago. We can go Thiago Almada. I think we're okay because it's you can go through it quickly, and it's no real problem. Thiago Almada, I think you're okay. David, restating your position after Game 4, Almada and Wiley have been top 3 for Atlanta United each and every match. Where's the best place to go here to hear? Where's the best place to go hear just the radio calls? Yeah, and I think legitimately, Tom, it might be off of. Well, I mean, for Atlanta United, we know about the Off the Woodwork podcast over at 92.9 The Game and 92.9thegame.com. Subtle plug. That's the question, because and I will say this. In trying to find radio calls, because when we pieced together the weekend review and tried to come up with calls from other places to talk about the other matches in and around Major League Soccer, legitimately, the only other one I found was from Willie P. and Jess at WFNZ, and that's because WFNZ put that call up because of the call and the goal by Copetti on the purple team as Charlotte went on to win. So it is, I think, morning, Sean, I think that when you're chasing after radio calls, it's going to be incumbent, and I'm hoping that this is something that our friends look at and learn as they go. That our friends around the league, for the sake of promoting their squads and promoting their teams and stuff, that their local radio flagships do what 92.9 The Game is doing, because all it does is it elevates everyone's game. But I think that on a lot of different fronts, what we're seeing from 92.9 is a concerted effort to be the flag waver for Major League Soccer and for the local radio audience to have that place and to have that source. I mean, you got Atlanta Soccer tonight with Jason on Mondays. Jason will be breaking down his observations from the match later today over 92.9 The Game, because 92.9 The Game, Mike and everybody there, they know that there is a desire for that kind of content. And I think that when the other stations around the league understand that or have it reinforced, and you have the content available to you, all you have to do is put it out there for your fans. And think about all the markets that we see that have great fan bases, Portland being one of them back home. But, and I'd love for 105.3, I'd love for the Game to be able to put these kinds of things like we're seeing from Atlanta United in association with the Portland Timbers on a home match or something like that. You've seen, like I said, you've seen it from WFNZ, where they matched up on their Twitter. They matched up the call from the video from Season Pass to the call with Willie P. and Jess. WFNZ understands it with their audience. So you're hoping that the other flagships for all the other stations understand that as well, can coordinate with their clubs to where you can see things pieced together, like you're seeing with Atlanta United, like you're seeing with WFNZ in Charlotte. And I think that I'm hopeful that as everybody gets their sea legs here, as the season continues to go, that you'll see more and more of this from more and more stations and more audio voices as we go. So, but no. Like I said, I try to pull, calls like what we got from Mike and Jason this past weekend, so we can enjoy them all over again. But it was very, very difficult for me to try to find, say, Ache's call or a goal from Houston and their win over Austin. Couldn't find anything from Chicago about the craziness that they had with FC Cincinnati. Couldn't find, and like I said, this could be just me looking in the wrong places, but I could not easily find, say, Joe Totino's call from LA Galaxy on the goal that was called back by Joveljic and the handball and the discussion that was there. So I would hope that teams, as we go, will make them more readily available during the week. And it's kind of having to know who the flagship is, kind of having to know if it's a call that's done strictly to app or through club, those kinds of things. And so I think that as we go, I'm hopeful that something is more readily available. I would love to have heard Jim Curtin's post-match. That's something else we got to get into, was Jim Curtin's post-match comments after the loss to Montreal. Frankly, I'd love to hear the Montreal calls of the 4 goal at 90 and then the second goal at 90 plus 8 that got on the win. I'd love to hear those calls. But trying to figure out where they are is the part that we've got to sort through here when it comes to what's going on here early in the Major League Soccer season. Getting back to the Spurs discussion, Will, Tuchel, you think they'd learn about ex-Chelsea managers by now? Alex left out the part where he says, they say we keep fighting. Fighting for what? For the 7th place? Yeah. David, maybe Gazan is in that top 3 one game, maybe a bar, maybe Luis, but those other two consistently top 3 performers every week. Yep, Ricky, we'll get into Fulham in FA Cup. We'll get into that definitely in hour number 2. 3 Reds in a minute. 1 to Marco Silva, 1 to Willian for the handball in the box that led to the penalty, which tied it up at 1, and then things went completely and totally south from there. And then Mitrovic for bumping the ref. That you don't do. You don't do that. Mitrovic should be suspended for the rest of the season, according to Tom. Then Ellis Sims opened the account. Alex still trying to understand what happened with the offside call to nullify Elliot Anderson's goal. I think we all would be. Will, remember when people thought Scott Parker was good? Yeah. Then, he got Bournemouth up to the Premier League. They freaked out after 4 matches and the huge loss, which really started their goal difference madness. And then Club Brugge picked him up, and he only won twice in 12. So there you go. Yep, player was clearly in the path of the ball, locking Gazan's view. Once again, in VAR, that's what we were looking at because, once again, as we were looking at it in studio, we were trying to figure out, because the call was possible offside. I was thinking obstruction. I literally was thinking obstruction because of the player who was in Brad's way when Eric Williamson put the ball past him and made it 1-0 until VAR pulled it off the board. But yeah, I was initially thinking obstruction all the way because from an offside position, you're standing there and you can't see, if you're Brad, you can't see to your left. I want to say it was Mabiala. You can't see to your left to follow the path of the ball, and it goes past you, and then you legitimately can be a little angry. DM Tim wanting to know about Miggy's injury. Hang on. And this might have been picked up by the rest of the Twitch pitch, and if so, I apologize. Like I said, I'm catching up from the absolute beginning. 6 weeks, a thigh injury in training. So Miggy's on the bench for the next 6 weeks, and according to the Chronicle in Newcastle, yes, I'm signing into Chronicle Live as me. So UEFA will rethink the rules quickly as Newcastle owner Amanda Staveley searches for the right fit. We might have to get into that story. All right, so Newcastle United. Miggy. Where's my Miguel Almiron news? Where is it? It's taking too long for me to come up and figure out where it is. Well, we'll have to come back to the Amanda Staveley story. But so we'll go to Almiron injury. All right, so let's see if we can find some place where I can actually stare at it and we can talk about it. Jacob Whitehead, Chris Waugh, and this is a couple days ago, out for the next 6 weeks, suffering a thigh injury in training. Paraguay head coach GBS had said earlier Friday indicated Almiron would only miss 3 weeks of action, but following the away win at Nottingham Forest, Eddie Howe confirmed he'll be out for double that. Quote, Miggy pulled a thigh muscle in training. Unfortunately, it's quite a bad one. It's going to be 6 weeks. He's their top scorer this year. Scored the winning goal against Wolves on Sunday. Until coming off the bench, he'd started Newcastle's first 24 Premier League matches of the season. Claimed Almiron had been rested due to the demanding style of play. Not called up by Paraguay for a friendly against Chile March 28 after suffering the injury Thursday. It would have been his 50th cap. GBS said Miguel Almiron was injured yesterday, out for 3 weeks, and it's not necessary for him to come. We received the report from his club. We saw the video of the injury. So 6 weeks for Miguel Almiron. So that he'll be back with a handful of matches to go in the regular season. So that's where you are. Thomas, Saints need to make one last push to get above the line. And, with the, James Ward-Prowse, frankly, for me, it's one of the most underappreciated players in the Prem, and it's because he's with a team that's 20th. I'd love to, and I know, Thomas, you can go earmuffs here. If Southampton doesn't survive and they go down, that will be the best asset Southampton has, and it will be interesting to see what the price tag is for him to stay in the Premier League and who comes chasing after him. He and Che Adams. So we'll see what there. All right, so Jason said the correction saying the player was in the path of the ball in an offside position versus blocking Brad's view. Okay, all right, got it. Michael Valverde just needs a rest. International break was the best time. Let's see. 136 times. Yes, that's how many times we've all seen it. And Will has seen it almost 430,000 times. So good work. You're not alone. Let's see. 25 times in 25 minutes. Morning, Hutch. 25 times in 25 minutes. Nix has seen the free kick more than the OG Star Wars at this point. Michael Head. It was the number 5 on the top 10. And to your point, Michael, it's amazing that ESPN showed anything for, well, I would have said anything soccer. I would have probably wondered where Frank Kessie's goal would have been, considering it was on the Plus. And I think Kay Murray was hosting the El Clasico coverage. So, Kessie goal, yes. Free kick should have been higher, but, if you're not a major rights holder anymore, then you're not probably going to put a priority on it. Oh, Ricky, yes. Spanish call was also fantastic. Definitely a goosebumps moment. Like the DJ lowered his volume during halftime, made it easier to talk. Nix, love on Egan's call, the goes for it. You could tell he was surprised. Well, and Tofka, if we think about it, so far, I think we've had Kevin and Kendra. I know we've had Kevin for 2 home matches. And Kevin and Kendra, I think, have been together for 3 of the first 4. And I think the one match was in Chicago where Kevin has family. And then the other was the Orange Ball game in Minneapolis where Kendra is based. So Kevin's gotten 2 home games. Kendra's gotten a home game. And then Kevin got one with family. So right now Kevin leads 3-1 when it comes to home matches. But no, and remember what they were trying to do is come up with some kind of like a regionalized look at things for all of the play-by-play crews. So, you wouldn't see Mark Rogandino and Heath Pierce calling matches in the Eastern Conference, something like that. Jake and Taylor are the number 1 crew, so they're going to go wherever. But the idea was to have like regionalized crews. So I think that you'll get a good dose of Kevin this year. I think you will. I think you'll get a good dose of Kevin and Kendra when it comes to Atlanta United. Will, Legion got a number 3 out of the USL the day before. But remember, USL is on the plus. So it would make sense for something out of USL to get a win, to get something like that going for ESPN and their top lists, because it's a property that they air. And so it made sense for that to go down. We'll see how many other times. We'll see how many more times you see stuff out of USL, out of stuff that airs on the Plus, out of stuff that airs out of League One, all the other leagues that are on the Plus when it comes to their networks. We'll see how many more times we continue to see that kind of stuff. Yeah, everyone's surprised sitting in the stadium saying too far from 32. Uh-oh. Tom, tried to beat the halftime beer line. You had to watch it on TV. So then let me ask you this, Tom. When it came to the beer line, how many folks had to go back in because they were tossing their beers in the air after they'd purchased it? Like literally, they go through, they purchase their beer, they go nuts, they spill their beer, they have to get back in line. How many times did that happen? David, like that it taught me a new phrase. I don't recall who in the post-game interview said it. Maybe Sadich. It was a spider killer. I got to find that one. Yeah, you're right. Well, sorry, Hutch, you're making me laugh. We need to send Conti some whiskey and honey for his voice. Well, considering all the work that Mike does this time of year, think about it. With Atlanta United, with the Hawks, doing drop-ins for updates when needed, doing the stuff with Jason for stoppage time. Mike is very, very active in his voice. And I will say this. I have gotten more careful in treatment for my voice, too. I mean, I literally, and this is something I picked up from Gord Downey from the Tragically Hip, no lie. Gord, later on in his career, would actually have a wrap around his neck just to keep everything warm. And I do the same thing when I sleep now. I literally will have a wrap around my neck to keep everything warm here when I go to bed. So, yeah, it's all about care. And it's all about, I mean, was it a week and a half ago doing the basketball championships, all the talking I did for 4 days, just trying to figure out when to lower your voice, when to raise it, when to kind of low gear it, when to be excited, all those kinds of things. And yeah, by Friday, I was bringing in the throat coat tea, no question. And then that one run on Saturday, 2.5 hours where I was on lead. Yeah, it literally is all about taking care of your voice. As much as we have going on these days, definitely, it's all about care. And speaking of which, tomorrow, high school games of the week are at Memorial Stadium, as I call it, DeKalb Memorial. Shows you how long I've been in the area. It's Halford Stadium, Holy Innocents and Clarkston. The boys' match will be first at 5:30. The girls at 7:30. Jason and I will be at Memorial or Halford for those. So that's the games of the week this week. It is Holy Innocents and Clarkston. So it'll be a good one. We'll catch up with the coaches today at practice. Yes, we're talking practice. And so then you definitely will be keeping an eye on things with that. So Holy Innocents and Clarkston, games of the week tomorrow starting 5:30 on the network. Michael Valverde, Jason, schoolgirl giggle is priceless. Totally cracked the OG up. Nix agrees. Mike, best play-by-play radio guy in the country by a mile. I love it. I love hearing him. And I readily admit, yes, we're all tremendous friends and everything. And I'm partial, I admit it, but I love hearing Mike and Jason. That's just me. Will dribbled like 4 people, then shot across his body, top of the box. Yes, Will laughed the whole time. Absolutely. Alex. Heather and I just sit in the car and laugh hysterically when we listen to Mike play back the goals in the drive home. The joy it brings is absolutely priceless. Absolutely true. Because when can you have a moment like this?
We're in the third of 4 added minutes here in the first half. 1-0 Atlanta United. Ball is spotted square to the post nearest us. It's Almada standing to the left of the ball, and Araruju is to the right of it.
Yeah, it's inside 35, so it's a little more in range. I think Thiago might want this.
Let's see. 7-man wall. Whistle by Uncle. Hands on hips for Almada. He's up to it. He does go for goal. Goal! Thiago Almada from the parking lot gives Atlanta United the 2-0 lead. He celebrates by displaying Fuerte Apache on his undershirt, his neighborhood from Buenos Aires. It's 2-0 to Atlanta United on a goal of the year candidate for Thiago Almada.
Brought to us by our friends at 92.9 The Game in Major League Soccer. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness, my goodness. Yes. And Will reminding us once again from hour number 1, TJ Sorrentine and Taylor Coppenrath. Yeah, and Knicks. And this is interesting. This is an interesting match race that we have here. Get to the car if you're Knicks. Get to the car before they do the recap. There you go. Birmingham, once again, Ricky listening to the radio highlights is a must. And Will with the link with Birmingham. Oh, yeah, Tyler Pasher. Yes. I did see that goal, but I hate to break it to Sports Center. And here's the link for those of you. It's at BHM Legion on Twitter, and I'm sure that they've linked to it. I'm sorry. I know it's different days, but Thiago Almada, doing Thiago Almada things is far better than what Tyler Pasher did in dribbling through half of the team that they were facing. So, yeah, sorry. I mean, I know Kaylor Hodges is a fan of what Tyler Pasher did. It's tremendous work, but thinking it through, yes, sorry. Thiago Almado's better. Knicks. I would agree. The physics on the goal need to be studied in universities and literally trying to figure out, okay, contact, angle of contact, spin on ball, spin rate, all those kinds of things. Absolutely. Parzival, standing behind the team's bench at that angle, you just knew he was going for it. And Nick Raimondo saying it was an easy save. And then Michael Parkhurst, yes, exactly. There you go. Ricky, then Parky owned him. Raimondo's, yes, Raimondo ain't saving that one. Okay. So spin. Oh, okay. So Hutcho has posted a link in the Twitch pitch about soccer players and spinning a ball. So there's your link. And yeah, and Knicks. Mose saw this juggernaut coming and pulled that $1 per goal ish. Didn't the number of goals beat the discount? I thought it did. David, two biggest MLS stories: breakup St. Louis and Almada shopping spree from Europe. Yeah. Well, that first one, and you know, it's great. And I'm going to be the party pooper on this one. St. Louis, you're fantastic. I love it. Yeah, I did not think that I would have Lewin and Klaus in the same conversation of Vela and Rossi, but I am being tied to goals and assists in the first 4 matches. I look at it this way, and I'm going to continue to say this about St. Louis. I look at St. Louis as the guy that got called up from AAA, the hot prospect, going through the league for the first time. No one's got a book on you. You can kind of have an idea as to how you're going to do things, you know, very Red Bullsy when it comes to approach and stuff. But the second time through the league, when they sit there and look at you and they like, oh, okay, he'll go fishing for something low and away or in on the hands. And the pitchers will start to go low and away on that batter who went through the league, I think 360 or whatever. Just, you know, put it a number. 360 first time through the league. And then when the pitchers understand, okay, low and away or in on the hands, depending on if you're a left-handed pitcher or right-handed pitcher and what side of the plate the batter's on. That's your difference here. I think that first time through the league, no one's got a book on you. And St. Louis is doing St. Louis things. And, of course, in 2 of the wins, you just have 2 of the largest defensive gaps known to mankind that create opportunities against Austin and then the subsequent week. Second time through the league is going to be the bigger test for me for Bradley Carnell in St. Louis City SC, legitimately. So that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. Second time through the league. Keep an eye on that for St. Louis City SC. Because right now, yeah, it's great, but no one's got a book on you. Then they'll figure out what to do with, wow, Emilio dropping a Mike Vail reference from 1975. I have the Mike Vail 75 and 76 baseball cards, by the way. Ricky Ricardo, Mabiala, got to stop fouling in his own half. Yes, I'm sure Portland fans are that way. And, yes, the ever-present anti-Atlanta United bias when it comes to awards. Yes, in Knicks and the goal from Caleb. Man, it's just trusting. It's trusting who your running partner is. And the presence, you know, once again, we talk about all of that. Ibarra forward. And Thiago Almada turns his back and he's boxing out. First bounce happens. Ball comes down. 2 defenders come together. Thiago around the right-hand side of it. And then Caleb just going straight down. He's going red route 1. And then the ball through the defenders, and Caleb puts it past Ivicic. Yes, kid is on fire. And Ricky, the third goal for Gigi might be one of your favorites. Yeah. Big switch, right to left. Caleb Left to right, header, GG goal. See ya. Rich Ransom. Can someone explain? Yeah, here we go. Here we go. How? Can someone explain to me how Victor Wanyama tells the ref to do a second VAR check? All right. So let me see if I can find the explanation from Victor Wanyama how that happened. Oh, by the way, good morning, Rich. All right. So Victor Wanyama. All right. So here's the full quote from Victor Wanyama. On the bench, they have some gadgets that they can show the replay. I went there, and the coach said, it's a goal. There was somebody on the end line. So I went back to the ref to try to complain. I complained to the fourth official. I asked him just to communicate with the VAR and also the ref because there was somebody that he hadn't picked up by the camera, so you can check again. The referee was saying, good point. He went back to check, and he made the right decision. So he went to the fourth official to ask the refereeing crew to take another look at the goal first struck, then given back. So that's how, Rich. That's how it happened. Victor Wanyama. Uh-oh. Oh, Alex, we got? Oh, did you post the Anima Sagafi quote as it loads? Loading. Yes, the Pro has a statement as of this morning on the issue. So, since I haven't been able to hit this one, since I haven't been able to hit this particular one this morning, I'm going to go ahead and hit this, considering it came out before the show started. I forget how long that goes. So the official statement from Pro this morning about said moment. Here we go. In the 90th minute of the March 18 match between CF Montreal, Philadelphia Union, Montreal's Chinonso Ofor scored the tying goal. Upon checking the goal at the moment that ball was last played by a teammate, it appeared to the video match officials that Ofor was in an offside position. However, Philadelphia Union's Kai Wagner was closer to the goal line than Ofor, but was out of the view of the camera angles being used by the video match officials. Therefore, VAR recommended an on-field review for a possible offside in the attacking phase leading to the goal. After looking at the available video angles, the referee determined that Ofor was offside and canceled the goal. Following the review, and before play was started, and so with the link that's been posted, Rich, here's the explanation and a second picture. Following the review and before the play was restarted, the video match officials viewed new video footage with a wider camera angle and were able to see Wagner close to the goal line, keeping Ofor onside. VAR immediately communicated to the referee to delay the restart. Referee blew his whistle before the ball was put into play. Referee went to the referee review area to look at the incident again, saw Wagner keeping Ofor in an onside position and correctly awarded the goal. And there is a second picture where basically Wagner is up against the end line, and he is keeping Ofor onside. So that's how that one got. But that's how that goal came to pass it to make it 2-2. But hey, the fourth listened to Victor Wanyama. That's a conversation that you got to have with the fourth pro and God and your God. That's how that ended up 2-2. Yes, Knicks. The pass from Caleb on the right, left, center. Absolutely, it was. Yes, Boom Yakamakis is definitely going to switch. And Alex remembers hindsight scolding Doug. There is no offense and defense. It is all the same thing. Yeah, because one creates the other. So it all blends together. Yep, Almada switched right to Luis. Big switch left to Caleb. And then the pinpoint cross. That was gorgeous. Even before the Caleb switch, the pass from Almada to Aruju was perfect. Control has been amazing. That whole sequence was amazing. The ball barely touched the ground. Michael hates being a Debbie Downer and being overly critical. Call me out, but to me, Brad looked kind of slow and awkward on the goal. Again, I'm probably overly critical. I'm trying to remember. I'll have to go back and look at positioning and see see assignments and see who was locked into where, but I'll put a bookmark in that one. And Ricky with a possible point. Don't know if you expected the ball to go back across. Nix, great header, back against the grain, had to cover the other side too. And yes, Sam, morning from the top of the table, and Ibarra keeping an eye on that. Watching a game in person, they can't always focus on a specific player. Didn't notice Lennon much, and it wasn't until the 30th that I forgot he was playing. Anyone else ever think like that during a match? And the same with Luis. I disagree on Luis. And just because, and take into account the collective. Kind of going back to what we were just talking about with hindsight. There is no offense, there is no defense. It's all the same thing. Because one creates the other. And with Luis, for me, it was great to see him score for the second match in a row. But what I would also ask that you take into account when you're looking at don't just get locked into offense. Look at offense and defense. And in the formation that Portland was bringing to the table, the 3-5-2, just because, I mean, honestly, the bench, they only had 5 position players and a backup keeper. That's how thin Portland was. You figured that things were going to happen more over time. But Brooks had to account more for the outside backs going forward offensively for Portland. He had to account for more of that. It wasn't, and he had to be a part of pinning folks in corners and things like that. Look at the collective. Look at the collective work of an individual. Luis, and like I said, and we mentioned it early in the show. Look at defensive work rate as a part of the fuller picture. You know, Brooks had to account for what was happening down the left-hand side with Portland, because that was how Portland turned the match upside down against LAFC when they went to a 3-5-2. You know, you've got to account for more individuals in the attack in something like that when their formation has that wing back coming down, plus you have you got 3 center backs, and then you have the wing back working his way, that Brooks has to account for more in these kinds of situations. So, and they're also keeping an eye on him, knowing how lethal he can be off of the right-hand side. So they're keeping an eye on him, and Brooks at the same time has to keep an eye on that wing back as well as a part of the attack for Portland. But Luis's work rate, look at him on defense as much as you do with him coming in off the right-hand side with, the inside run, working his way toward the edge of the 18, coming in, on a cut. Look at what he does defensively for Atlanta United, just as much as you do with his offense. I know that we all kind of get locked into this idea of keeping an eye on offense and seeing them scoring, 5 goals and all those kinds of things. But what I would ask is look at work rate. No. I know. But it's just when we get locked into statistics, and there are some times when players are like offensive linemen. I mean, think of it that way. We don't mention them until there's a mistake. And I think that happens a lot with at least defensive midfielders and players in defensive positions. So what I would ask is just to keep an eye on the whole picture when it comes to players. Look at their defense and their offense, because as Heinze says, it's the same. But just kind of keep an eye on what their assignment is while they're in attack and while they're in defense. So keep an eye on those kinds of things. That's good that Norton will highlight suspicious links in my webmail account. That's good to know. All right. Let's see. Conversation with that. Yes, Ricky, Luis was working. OG, Still say the amazing start is a result of one of the most challenging seasons a team can endure, and the next man up mentality that arose from that. That is absolutely true. And to David's point, sometimes it's take what they give you. Alex, favorite part of watching in person is being able to see all the off-the-ball stuff you don't see on TV, like watching the build-up. Yes, absolutely. OG, live experience is great when you see the whole field. Really happy we can now watch replays and get the close-up stuff too. Hutcho, not to put a damper on things, but what does beating now number 10 in the West Portland, now number 14 in the East Charlotte tell us about the team? Are we ready for the challenge of the New York teams and the Western Division leaders? I think, Hutch, I'm not going to complain what the schedule makers did. You didn't know Portland was going to be this injured. And you didn't know, Charlotte, I think, has more issues that they're having to sort out. But we didn't know that Portland was going to be this banged up. And that's not Atlanta United's fault. So take the schedule as the schedule. It was what it was. And you're at the top of the Eastern Conference if you're a fan of Atlanta United. So no complaints right now. Like I said, ready for the New York teams and the Western Division leaders. And I think what also this does with this early part of the schedule is it gets you integrated with what Gonzalo Pineda wants to do, everybody getting healthier, understanding their relationships, getting Giacomakis integrated, getting Miguel Berry integrated, getting Derek Etienne Jr. healthier, all those kinds of things. Nothing wrong with a runway. Absolutely nothing wrong with a runway and trying to get things prepared for Atlanta United. And it just so happens that you had 3 of your first 4 at home. You got the number of points that I think that you were looking for. You got at it a little differently than most. But I think that legitimately, this is what you should have expected from Atlanta United out of the blocks. I think that you should have expected that, that something like this was going to happen. Okay, this is interesting. All right, so I'm going to go here again because this is definitely interesting. And if I can find it, there we go. Withering story. Bill Hamid. And we now know what's going on with Bill Hamid. According to Jeffrey Carlisle, Bill Hamid has signed with Memphis 901 FC and Stephen Glass. And this is as of about 28 minutes ago. Sources tell ESPN Bill Hamid is signed with Memphis 901. Deal which is still pending league and federation approvals for the duration of the 23 season. Approvals are expected to take place in time for Hamid to play in Saturday's match against the Oakland Roots. Hamid had recently been linked to Dundee United. Manager Jim Goodwin told the Herald last week the club, quote, decided to go in a different direction, end quote. Also had a training stint with Crystal Palace. Joins a Memphis side with, remember, Tim Howard as sporting director and Glassy as manager. So Bill Hamid to Memphis 901. And also, I'm going to go ahead and hit this. This is, I'm going to hit this again just because. All right. Fabrizio Romano this morning. This is a little soccer over there-ish. Sevilla are set to sack Jorge Sampaoli in the next hours. Confirmed. Board now already working on a new coach to be appointed, and it comes with the siren emoji from Fabrizio Romano. Sampaoli joined Sevilla in October, but now he's set to leave the club with Jose Mendilibar as a favorite, according to Spanish media. And so there you go. So Sevilla set to sack Sampaoli. Bill Hamid heading to Memphis 901. So that's what happens here in hour number 2. Yeah. Nick's Glassy's the head coach of Memphis 901 in championship. And we're debating possibly trying to find the time to go up and catch up with Glassy and see what's going on up there at Memphis 901. But yeah, so that's where we are with that. Let's see. The sound in the press box on the free kick. I don't know what the sound of the press box was. I just know that like I said, everybody lost their minds from a production standpoint. Goals in the second half, we could hear you. We definitely could hear you through that, because I've finally made it up to the press box. I want to say with about 30 minutes to go. Traditionally, after our segment's done at halftime, you're packing your stuff, you have your post meeting, then you make your way upstairs to the press box. I usually can catch the last 30 minutes from the press box, and you guys are loud. You guys are pretty loud, as is this alleged caller from a number I don't recognize. Yes, no doubt. And Michael to Hutch, I think the next two games will give you a better analysis. Columbus, remember, they're not going to have Cucho or Eloy Room. So be interesting to see what happens there. Room will be away for Curacao, and Cucho will be gone as well. So they won't have one of their big scoring stars, and they won't have their starter in net. So it will be interesting. It will be interesting. Press box was closed. I don't know why. I don't know why it was initially closed when Mercedes-Benz was built, Emilio. But so, I mean, it's just you're thinking, okay, it's a press box. You keep the windows closed, that kind of stuff, from any kind of debris or dust or whatever. But yeah, traditionally it was closed until just recently. But yeah, I love it now that it's open, because you have to have conversations with folks. Very, very cool, and you have to be real close up. Looks like La Liga seems to be the big destination, at least what folks are thinking for Thiago Almada. No, I'm not. It's Michael. It's coming at some point. That's just how the business works. The fact that Atlanta United has the most exciting player in Major League Soccer right now, and he knew that this was going to be a stop to help build his game in addition to his national team duties. Much like Miguel, he ain't staying. It's just a matter of when. When did you get the offer that you can't refuse? Is it in the summer window for European football, or does he get to stay until the end of the year? That's the question. Yeah, Golden Boot leader and assist leader. No, it's going to be more than 30, Tafka. You know that. Alex Basine, you call him Tiaguito because he's still a baby. Okay, I get that. What you lose in speed with Almada, you more than compensate with for hard goal-scoring shots. Goodness gracious. No doubt. And to Sean, your point. And once again, this is a back line that is learning itself. You get Miles back. How is Miles having to integrate with Juanjo Purata? That's a part of this as well. It's Purata's first full training camp. Remember, he came in on a flyer last year. And so you had that. You've got all of that you're looking at. I mean, Gutman, Lennon, Miles, Purata. Your center backs are trying to figure out. And we saw that in the preseason. It's like trying to figure out, okay, who's going where and when, who steps out, who covers, all that kind of stuff. You're trying to figure out the relationship at the back. And so they're doing pretty well. Need to give Almada some credit for his physicality. Yes, he smelled good with his body. And second goal, he buys half a yard to the 18 with a well-placed booty bump. Let him turn and pick his spots. Nothing wrong with booty bumps. Box out. Apple can make one last improvement to their broadcast options, but yes. And now, this is for those of you who are members of Season Pass, what I would suggest is this. I would suggest a kind correspondence, either on Twitter or Facebook or email, however you correspond with your folks at Apple TV. Apple TV Plus, I would suggest a kind email to them. hey, guys, love the coverage, love what you're doing with the local radio. But what I would love to see is next year, as you continue to evolve and advance your product, which has been fantastic so far, love to see it, is if you were to add the away team audio to your on-screen options as well. Just something nice. Let them know you're digging it. But we'd like to hear our announcers on the road as well as when we hear them at home. What that does from a production standpoint is right now, and I've actually seen this happen because there are guys that I've worked with in television who are working on the Apple TV crews locally. They literally will come up to the home radio booth and they will ask for a connection to go into from the truck. So it will be a connection, an audio connection from the audio booth, from play-by-play to the truck. What makes it difficult for away teams is not every away team travels. And the universality of that would be a lot better if everyone traveled, because what you would have to do, and we know that Mike and Jason at 92.9 are approaching this differently from a lot of clubs in Major League Soccer, is what you're looking for there is you're trying to figure out where the away team is coming from. Are they in a home studio? Are they at Yankee Stadium? Are they at the stadium, at the home stadium, calling it out of the home stadium booth? How do you get that signal to the production truck and out? It would be easier, and once again, you're having to run a separate line into the production truck. And I'm sorry that this is TV production 101. This is TV production down here. But what you do if for a home match is far easier than for an away match. Home match, you plug in, you're plugged down to the truck. It's a separate line, goes out with the video feed. That's fine. If an away team travels to that same venue, then it would be just as easy in theory, but you would have to free up yet another audio line to send that third signal, TV, home radio, visiting radio, through the venue into the production truck and up to Apple. Unfortunately, not everybody travels. And it's that element that I think is probably the biggest stumbling block in all of this, is the away teams that don't travel coming from an independent source. How would that get captured and in turn flipped to where you could have it as an option? So that's the element that I think is the most difficult in all of this. But it does not hurt. It does not hurt to send our friends at Apple TV Plus a nice correspondence, thanking them for what they're doing and trying to advance the game. But hey, what I would like to see next year is my favorite team getting them on the road in addition to hearing them at home, because A, B, C, D, E. Be nice about it. You catch what is it? You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Just say something nice. I like what we've seen so far. Once again, it's a growing product. It's only a month old. It's very, very early stages. But once again, just load it. It's great. You guys are doing great. Love the growth. Love the openness to change and tweak things, especially in the whip around show where you're catching more announcers than you are the hosts at times, where I want to hear the announcers. I don't want to necessarily hear the hosts and have their backs to me. Send a nice note. But hey, can you guys work on this? Just a thought. DM Tim, not expecting Miles to look this good this fast. Yes, Miles being at this level is huge. 2018 vibes at the back. Tafka, thrilled for Ibarra. think Sosa has to find a way into the 8 spot. But that's what you want. With all the competitions and all the different philosophies that teams have on a week-by-week basis, take this week by week. Somebody has a good week of training, that might be why they start. Somebody's a hot hand, that might be why they continue to start. International break's another thing entirely. But when it comes to positions and players and levels of success, Franco Ibarra has been fantastic. He's been an absolute hoss. But because of the idea that you're playing, hopefully, as close to 50 matches this year, you're going to need depth. You're going to need folks. So the fact that you have Santi Sosa coming back into the fold, you have Franco Ibarra doing well, you have a Marcedic who steps in when there's an injury to Mateus Josetu. You have Caleb Wiley on the left wing. You have Miguel Berry up top to help things out with Gigi. You've got Luis on the right. You've got Brooks at right wing, at right back. You've got Gutman at left back, who can make those inside channel runs and be the center striker back that we were talking about last season with Caleb on the left wing or Derek Etienne Jr. See all the different names that we're going through here? Noah Cobb, Aiden McFadden. You're hoping Machop Chol can come good, possibly either on the left wing or at the striker position at the head of the spear. All these different names that we're mentioning. It's a reason that they're involved. But once again, somebody's got a good week in training. That might be why they start. Philosophy might be another reason why somebody starts over somebody else. If you look at what a team does, okay, they do things differently, then we might have to adjust accordingly. And so take it match by match. Yes, we know that there are folks that are going to be there each and every time. But think about the analysis during the week that we have involving the opposition, and that might be why somebody starts over somebody else. Skill set, what have you. Sean only figured out after looking at the Discord. Shameless plug. Let's see. Okay, well, Hutch, I'll take this. Palindromic date. You know me. I'll take these kinds of things. A palindromic date. 320-2023. I dig that. That's very cool. That's very, very cool. Yes, net gators are great. And Hutch, no doubt. Jiggs McDonald. Jiggs, very cool dude. When he was play-by-play for the Florida Panthers early in their run, got the chance to catch up with him. And when the Thrashers existed. And very, very cool guy. Great to catch up with Jiggs. And I remember Jiggs and, do I have it? Do I have it here? Is it close by? Let me see if it's close by. Yep, there it is. All right, Hutch, you might enjoy this. I found this. 1974? 74-75. This is the 1974-75 Boom Boom Jeffrey on hockey card, thanks to our friends at Topps, right there. This is one of my favorite hockey cards ever. That's the boomer right there. Boom Boom Jeffrey on. Talk about the Ucky. Boom Boom Jeffrey on. Oh, no, by the way, in that same stack, unintentionally, Ernie Johnson, senior. Milwaukee Braves at this point. I think this is a 58. I think this was this is 1958 Ernie Johnson. So 1958 Ernie Johnson right there. And my 1975 Boom Boom Jeffrey on, who was fantastic in the Miller Lite commercials, by the way. That's your non sequitur for the morning. Boom Boom Jeffrey on, talk about the Ucky. Do a great job, talk about the Atlanta Flame. That's what happens when Boomer was a great ambassador for the sport. Love talking to Boom Boom Jeffrey on. Somewhere in my stacks, I've got a Boom Boom Jeffrey on autograph. But so Emilio prefers when we attack the supporter side in the second half, seem to do better in reverse order. Yes, we are talking aerodynamics in an indoor air friction coefficient calculation. Absolutely. Let's see. We talked about Mike Vale. Okay, so there's your link from Hutch about hyperphysics. So hyperphysics indoors, that's what we're talking about right there. Let's see. Well, and Hutch, that's an interesting. We talked about Victor Wanyama and Rich Ransom here. What if VAR is susceptible to the observer effect? Yeah, we got it in this case. So we'll see what happens there. And you guys got into the discussion about who you beat and all of that. Arsenal, yes, Arsenal is announced as the All-Star Game opponent for the MLS All-Star Game in D.C. That is in July, I believe. We'll keep an eye on that. Tafka talking about Apple TV. Biggest change you want to see to improve the Apple product, spread the games out a bit more. Don't know if that's going to happen. Just depends on kickoffs. Just the kickoffs. Spread the games out a bit. Can't watch anything but Atlanta, but you can go home and watch on demand, which I also think that they're banking on as well. I think they're banking on that when it comes to what's going on. They want you to go back and watch where you were. If you were there watching a match, they want you to go home and watch the replay. Can't watch anything but Atlanta because so many games are simultaneous. Well, that's why they also have the 360. 4 games at 4:30 local time, rest at 7:30 local, hits at 8:30, 9:30, 10:30. That's why they tried to do that tease where they give you the one afternoon game, the 1 or the 4, and then that way you can watch then. And then it's up to the affiliate as to when they want to broadcast it, perhaps in front of a tent flap that's branded. But right now, Tafka, I think they're going to keep the 7:30s at 7:30 so that way they can launch everything at 7:30 and have their big whip around effect, and they can watch 7-8 games at once maximum, because I think that's what they had. I think it was like 7 or 8 at 7:30 this past Saturday. DM Tim, I'd love to have a game of the week. We talked about making Friday 2 TVs, Tafka. That's how. Multi-screen. We talked before this new TV deal was up, before it was activated. We talked about making Friday night football night, football night in America, FUTBOL. And that way you could have a 7, you could have a 10, you could have your doubleheader, your pre, your half, your post, your in between. You're setting everything up for your 10 o'clock. Do what they do for Liga MX with Sábado Futbolero, a 6, an 8, and a 10. And then you would have your triple header, and it would all smash together, and literally it is wall to wall. But what Apple decided was to just stack everything on Saturday, with maybe the occasional Sunday if your secondary rights holder wanted to pull something out, or if there wasn't availability or something like that. Or CONCACAF scheduled you in the midweek, so you wanted to push a day, and so that's how LAFC ended up on a Sunday night with CONCACAF scheduling when you had Alo Alenze in the midweek. But I think right now, like I said, I'd love for a Friday night game of the week, something like that. Sunday night, you don't want to, especially later in the year, go up against the football night in America. So that's why we were thinking Friday night might be the day of the week to do it. Saturday, you've got all the matches. Friday, you do a 7 and a 10. Kickoff 7:30. Then that way you're over at 9:20, 9:30. You've got 30 minutes to get you into the 10 o'clock kick, 10 to 12. Halftime, after that's over, you go to 12:30. So basically you go from 7 to 12:30 on a Friday night, you'd have that done. But right now you see what Apple's doing. They're stacking a lot of the games so they can have multi-screen experience, so they can have 360, and so they can have a lot of the East Coast markets going off at 7 o'clock. Hutch just saw a video explaining why they're not more sports televised in 4K, and it, like the away team audio, involves more and more cables to be hooked in and synchronized. Yep. Michael, I know this would make, the away team broadcast on travel feed's not available. Yeah, but then you're not being fair. You want to try and have if you want to have it active, you want to have them all, and you want to be a good partner. Those kinds of things. Nix, as someone I saw on Twitter said, I wish they showed stand-ups of the on-site crews would reflect their there-ness. There-ness. I have to remember that word. Let's see. Knicks will take. I know that you'll take something closer. Take the draw. Everybody back healthy to play against Red Bulls. Yeah, he did do the Islanders during the Cup here. This is absolutely true, Jigs McDonald. Yep, 7:09, picture in picture. Yes, demand to be spoiled. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, we got 15 minutes. I forgot to do something to start hour number 2, so I guess it's time to do that. And so what did we say, 13 for background music? So we got to cut a promo because it's right behind me. So we hit rock and away we go. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. The Lemonize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. The turnkey process makes it easier to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Kind of the environment, we like that. It's a very green way of going about things without any kind of toxic residue. Different than Febreze or other masking agents that we have either underneath us in the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when you reach underneath the sink or above you in the cupboard, you pull out the masking agent, spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because all it does is mask the odor. It doesn't attack the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at the Lemonize service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing one of 2 ways to come up with a price that's affordable for you, either by the cubic foot or parts per million. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place that you need to go is the website. That's lemonize.com, and this is where I pick up my pen. Because after the .com, we ask for a favor. Go /Atlanta, lemonize.com/Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air, and that way they get to know what part of the world that you are attacking them from, so they can attack the for you. So your homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, lemonize.com/Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. The Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Reaction Monday. So that was 13. That was your music at 13 for the morning. So we'll see what happens there. 13 might have been loud for this time, but might not be for others. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so we wanted to get into the stuff with Marco Silva. I wanted to get into that. And the Newcastle thing. Let me get into the Newcastle thing real quick, because Amanda Stavely, I thought I checked in. UEFA is going to rethink the rules, and this is from Sharon Kelly, from the Newcastle Chronicle. Newcastle search for a multi-club partnership in its very early stages. UEFA are set to reassess the rules around these sides facing each other in Europe. Remember, Alexander Sefrin admitted that a rule that prevents clubs owned by the same group facing each other will be rethought as Newcastle explores their options. But remember, Red Bull Leipzig, Red Bull Salzburg, they still play each other. Newcastle looking at the multi-club model, but also another type of structure that would enable them to work with other sides without necessarily having to buy shares in the clubs themselves. They could team up with an investment firm like 777 Partners, who already have stakes in Sevilla, Genoa, Hertha Berlin, Vasco da Gama, Red Star, and Standard Liège. They could do that. Must be stressed, and this is once again from Kelly, must be stressed very early stages of the process. Amanda Stavely spoke earlier this month about the importance of finding the right fit with the changes around GBE points, reference to the difficulties young players from abroad now face in securing work permits in the UK post-Brexit. Having a trusted satellite elsewhere to enable players to get the required experience is an obvious advantage to the multi-club model. Sefrin, in his conversation, mentioned all these issues. So let's see. Although Newcastle obviously not playing in Europe yet, that's the ambition of the club's owners. Could soon be realized with the team currently in 5th. Club's hierarchy certainly will be watching on with interest as UEFA consider their next move. So there's that. Marco Silva, Doesn't want the book thrown at Alexander Mitrovic. I'm guessing that the book will be thrown at Alexander Mitrovic. And let's see, where is the Marco Silva? Yes, Fulham self-destructed. We know this. And we'll get into papers and gossip, rumor, and innuendo coming up in just a bit to get you ready for Monday and find out what else is on the television. Let's see. No, Football Weekly. Yeah, okay, here we go. Silva urges mercy. And like I said, I want to get into this with Bart once again because it seems to be happening with too much regularity, frankly. And, I want to get into the larger picture. Mitrovic, Silva, Willian all sent off in the 70th minute after Chris Kavanagh awarded United a penalty for the handball by the Brazilian. And it was a handball. I mean, literally, you see Willian, and from behind the net, you see him with his right punch basically the ball out of play. I'm sorry, that's a red. Serb definitely suspended for 3 games for violent conduct, but could face more severe punishments for his actions. Silva cited the example of Paulo Di Canio, who received an 11-game ban for shoving Paul Alcock in 1998. Was asked if Mitrovic might face a similar tariff. Quote, I don't think so. I saw the image and spoke with Mitro. It's a moment for him to control the emotions. He pushed the referee. He bumped him. But I hope the people who are going to decide with what the moment deserves. During the tie, Silva had been unhappy with Mitrovic being denied 2 penalty shouts himself for challenges by Luke Shaw and Lisandro Martinez. Shaw has to be obvious. It is clear. It is the first moments of a game. Clear penalty on Mitro. Shaw pushed Mitro. Okay, it is the pressure to play Man United away. Then, let's see. Silva was critical of the decision to appoint Kavanagh for the game, saying that he had an unhappy past with the official. Chris was in a game we played away at West Ham, he says, where we lost with 2 clear handballs. We received the apology because of the mistakes. The last game at Leeds in the FA Cup, it was him again. And for a game that is the quarterfinals, it's him again. It's difficult to understand. Of course, we respect that he's a top referee in this country. I accept that, but unfortunately for us, he's been really unhappy this season. Silva may face a fine for his subsequent comments about Kavanagh. United get Brighton in the semi. Manchester City gets Sheffield United. You could have a Manchester derby for the final. But Marco Silva pleading for mercy with the meltdown that Alexander Mitrovic. That's the word I'm trying to get to. Happy World Frog Day. Did not know that. Yeah, don't touch the ref, Sean, basically. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're getting at. I don't know why I'm blurry. I mean, it might be just the camera because, Hutch, if I lean in and out sometimes, it'll be screwy. I mean, I'll give you an example. So, like, if I go all the way in here like this, see how it got dark real quick and then it has to settle? Something like that, maybe. Yeah, don't touch the refs. Don't touch the refs. So there you go. Happy World Frog Day. Yeah, and they were. I mean, it was 1-0 Fulham, and then everything, all hell breaks loose in the 70th. 3 cards, 2 reds, penalty, even, and then boom, boom, and then you're done. So, so you got that. Let's see. Remember, Franchesi scores in added time. Barcelona with their win, pretty much locks out Real Madrid from getting anything resembling the championship. Everybody's wondering who's going to win the race with Jude Bellingham. That will be one of the more storylines of the weekend. The Qataris, along with Sheikh Jassim, will make a second bid for Manchester United on Wednesday evening, and they are apparently now willing to overpay for Manchester United. From our friend Kavi Solokal over at Sky News. Making the second bid Wednesday evening. Sources in the USA talks last Thursday in Manchester between the Qatari delegation and United executives were positive. Advisors now working on putting together a new bid, which is expected to be submitted by the close of business Wednesday. So that'd be noon our time on Wednesday. We'll keep an eye on that. Growing confidence among the bidders that the Glazer family, who believe the club is worth at least £6 billion, are willing to sell United. Previously understood, Qatari bidders were determined not to pay over the odds for the club. Stances softened in recent days, coinciding with the delegation's visit to Old Trafford. A lot of folks thought that Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because he visited personally put them in the driver's seat after round one because he showed up and Sheikh Jassim did not. Jassim's delegation did, Sheikh Jassim did not. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe showed up for round one, and a lot of folks are thinking, okay, he showed up to, show the respect to the Glazers by being there himself. Talks held across 10 hours, a lot longer than expected with the Qatari group. Sheikh Jassim and his members of his team had been to Old Trafford as fans before. Focus of the visit was to get a perspective on what they could do with their capital investment, growing infrastructure, youth development, and the women's team. And they've been trying to get a better understanding before they make another bid. Too early for Sheikh Jassim to be there in person. He did not just want to go for a photo opportunity. Sent his top team of experts in finance, banking, property, and law, with the Qataris totally committed. And in this to buy the club, notice the Bank of America folks with ties. Sky Sports News been told the sources in New York that there should be no doubt at all that Sheikh Jassim wants to be the owner and custodian of United. Sir Jim Ratcliffe also expected to make a second offer for Manchester United next week after visiting the club on Friday. 6 hours at Old Trafford and Carrington, meetings finishing about 4 p.m. Ratcliffe and Ineos are making no comment, and they're going to take the information they received last Friday before they go and make a new formal offer. So we'll keep an eye on that. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and things left unsaid and what you can watch today before we go. Later on, we will end up catching up with our friends from Kansas City Soul, one of the new franchises in the NPSL. That'll be up as a 1v1 later this afternoon. And once again, reminder, Holy Innocents and Clarkston at Halford in DeKalb County, DeKalb Memorial Stadium. For those of you of a certain vintage, that's our games of the week tomorrow. Boys at 5:30, girls at 7:30. And we're going to go to practice. Jason and I are going to catch up with the folks from Clarkston later this afternoon to get adjusted and get all figured out before Clarkston and Holy Innocents go after it in a big region game tomorrow, boys and girls side. All right. Aston Villa considering a move for Romelu Lukaku, currently on loan from Inter Milan from Chelsea. Man U prepared to sell club captain Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof this summer. Jurgen Klopp wants Liverpool to offer James Milner a new deal at the age of 37. Chelsea interested in the move for Andre Onana from Inter Milan this summer. Chelsea, Newcastle, both monitoring former Manchester City forward Brahim Diaz, currently on loan at AC Milan from Real Madrid, but could become available at the end of the season. That's the three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Arsenal want to sign Galatasaray's French right back Sacha Boey. Germany attacking midfielder Marco Reus wants to stay at Borussia Dortmund, where he's captain until the end of his career. Tottenham could reignite their interest in Napoli and South Korea center back Kim Min-jae this summer. Everton on the move for West Ham's Michail Antonio in the summer if they avoid relegation. Once again, three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Mohamed Kudus hopes to stay at Ajax beyond the end of the season, despite interest from Manchester United, Arsenal, and Liverpool. Besiktas are preparing to trigger the purchase option for West Ham defender Arthur Masuaku, and former Everton boss Frank Lampard is ready for his next managerial role, nearly 2 months since he was sacked by the Toffees. That's from the three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. So that's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Sean, we talked about Antonio Conte, and that was opening kickoff. See, this is what happens when you come in late. You're out playing golf, getting in a quick, large bucket. You missed the opening kickoff. We talked about Antonio Conte. And whether or not he was gone, will be gone in the international break, we pretty much know he's not going to be there next season. And that Tuchel and Pochettino were the top two dudes that they might be chasing after when it comes to the new guy. All right, so who should Spurs appoint if Antonio Conte leaves? Ben McAleer for Who Scored over at The Guardian. Pochettino, Tuchel, Luis Enrique, Thomas Frank, Ruben Amorim, Steve Cooper, Ange Postecoglou, Roberto De Zerbi. So let's see, how many of these dudes already have employees? De Zerbi's not leaving Brighton. Ange, if Jared has anything to do with it, isn't leaving Celtic. Steve Cooper signed a massive deal to stick with Nottingham Forest. And why would Spurs pick up a guy from Nottingham Forest? Ruben Amorim, 3-man backline at Sporting. So it's a 3-4-3 system there. Thomas Frank, Brentford, might be an interesting pick, considering what he's been able to do with Brentford budgetarily. Luis Enrique, out of work, but he'd want to overhaul the squad, according to Ben McAleer. So that's your 8 that Ben McAleer over at Who Scored has over at The Guardian. So that's what you're staring at. I say Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So when I say Sir Jim, like SERGIM, it's exactly what I'm doing. I'm slurring it. Sir Jim Ratcliffe. It's all one word. You got up late. Man, good for you on a Monday. -6 for you. Let's see. What can we watch on the telly tonight? So we always go to Soccer America for that, and we will dial it up here. Let's see what we can watch. Liga MX Femenil on ESPN Deportes at 7, and it's also on the Plus. La Liga Smart Bank at 4 on the Plus. Mirandes and Ibar and stuff out of the Argentine Primera. Newell's and San Lorenzo at 5:30. Triple header at 8. Huracan, Rosario Central, Lanús, Argentinos Juniors, and Talleres and Bonfield. So tonight's viewing is the LPF, and it's on Paramount Plus, and it's also available on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. It helps out the show, and it helps you out. I'm hooked on Fanatis, and Jason did it, so I blame him. That's a show, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. Thanks to everybody who jumped in with your comments as we talk about Atlanta United. Jarrett should be joining us tomorrow. We'll get his comments on Atlanta United. We'll continue Reaction Monday on Reaction Tuesday. Get your Tuesday thoughts, and get you dialed up for international duty and get you dialed up for Columbus, because that's where folks are going to be. And we've also got, remember, Game of the Week tomorrow, Holy Innocents and Clarkston, 5:30 and 7:30. And that is on the SDH app, available iOS and Android, and soccerdownhere.net. So for me and for Boomer, Boom Boom Jeff Round, to Bernie Jeff Round, the former head coach of the Atlanta Flame, talk about how things are with the Flame. And, it could be the overreaction on the Tuesday. You never know. But good to catch up with you and get the memory of the Atlanta Flame and Boom Boom Jeff Round. Great dude. Great to catch up with him. And y'all have good day. And especially a good day for Niall. Man, Niall was actually at the El Clasico. Good for him, man. Pictures are on Instagram. Check him out. So that's a definite field trip. Definitely. Yes, Boomer. Boom Boom Jeff Round. So for Boomer, for Jason, for DeJarrett, and for DeNick, I'm just DeJohn. Play it safe, everybody. It's the end of the show. So that means we get to do this. We'll be back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. Play it safe, everybody, and we'll be back soon. Have a good save Monday, and catch up with you on the Tuesday. Here's the end of the show.